Rest in peace, Winter Ant Colony, workers and queen, maybe even brood, will really miss you. This video will be split into 3 parts: the recapping, the tragedy, and the aftermath. So let's start with the recapping. So, I caught a winter ant queen of March 13th this year. Then she laid eggs. Then the eggs developed into workers. And then I've fed them and fed them. They were growing, and the queen of that colony stayed on the ceiling of her chamber with a filled gaster for about a month. Now that you know what happened, she had a big gaster full of foods like honey. The colony kept growing and things seemed to go well until recently. The second time I checked on my ants after a recent vacation to Virginia Beach, I saw many dead and dying workers. The queen and some other workers were still alive that time, but I tried saving the dead and dying ants by putting salt on them to hopefully revive them from drowning, but they never moved, and the dying ants kept getting weaker and weaker until they too died. The remaining survivors that time were the brood, 3 workers, and the queen, who looked a lot skinnier than before because she surely expelled a ton of food from her body, which I believe caused the rest of the colony to die, and it was harder to revive the ants that drowned on honey because of how sticky it was. That made me feel terrible, but I now learned something new, and that is to never feed my ants too much, especially if it's honey. Next time, I'll be careful by the amount I feed my ants. Sadly, the next day, another worker died, and in total, I lost about at least 8 workers. What a mass death. But it gets worse. So, I decided to clean their original setup and make a new setup in their tube for them. But I also thought of a theory that the dead ants were actually sleeping because winter ants estivate, and that could explain why the surviving ants moved weakly. So I kept both the dead and living winter ants together, and what I saw next time scared me. I saw a lot of mold on their setup, but the queen and last 2 workers were still alive that time. But I thought of changing their setup again 2 days later, but what I saw then scared me. My last 2 winter ant workers were alive, but the queen died and has been covered in mold. Rest in peace, winter ant queen and other dead winter ants. I'm very sorry for being too late in saving these winter ants. Some brood might have died too because I only saw a larva and a pupa. I placed my dead winter ants in my front yard. Now you may be wondering what I did to the remaining 4 surviving winter ants. I actually just did a new experiment. So I have another winter ant queen who never had any workers until I gave her the 4 foster winter ants. But I'm not sure if they accepted each other, and I'm not sure if this queen is even fertilized to have her own biological workers. But so far the ants haven't seemed to get along because one of the workers sadly died. The pupa also never developed and probably died. The last remaining winter ant worker is always hiding and running around in the bottle carrying its only larva. This made me feel terrible, but I can't just release these lonely ants. I'm just hoping these ants will have peace. I've actually fed them some sugar water, and I'm hoping they all use it. I'll feed them more food soon. But till next time, when we revisit these ants, I'll be back soon. But I got a new surprise about my pavement ants. Tune in next week.